I've had to quickly rewrite this overnight because apparently we're not allowed to sing and dance with the new restrictions. So marketing automation, the musical, will have to be shelved for next year. But I'll see what I can do, all right? So Robina's given you a bit of an intro, a bit of an insight into what I do. But I wanted to start with something that not very many people know about me. I have weird feet. Really weird. It's kind of like Howard the Duck and Thorpe kind of created some feet, and except without the swimming prowess and the gold medals and the records and stuff. So, you know, the good bits. So, when you've got weird feet, does anyone want to own up to having weird feet? Yes! Good. I don't feel so terrible outing myself now. When you have real weird feet, it's really hard to get a shoe that fits, okay? You can ring up your buddy Mouch here at Riderwear and go, can you do some wide boots for me? But nah. So when you find a pair, it's amazing, right? You find a pair that fits and you're like, oh, suddenly my feet feel so much better. I've got all this room for activities in my shoes. I can do things. Like, how good is this? So, you know, I found a pair of running shoes that really worked for me. They fit my weird wide feet, and of course, when you've got weird feet, you buy the first pair online in a store because they suddenly had some, and then no one ever stocks them ever again because it was the last pair they stocked, and who else would ever want that weird pair of shoes? So you go online. And so for me, you'd buy a pair, I bought a pair from Brooks. They're not a sponsor of the event, and I am in no way endorsing Brooks as a company or a shoe manufacturer or anything else. Dan. So once you've bought that first pair of shoes, they enroll you in the necessary email subscription system. So now I get their newsletter, okay? And this one's about find your perfect fit. Brilliant, love it. I've already found my perfect fit. You know, you can keep tempting me with other stuff if you want, but I'm pretty happy. So I get this email and I go, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go and have a look. So what happens when you click on for me, it's the Shop Men button, and you go to find that pair of shoes that you really like? They're sold out. Your size, your fit is sold out. But, I mean, we promised you the perfect fit, but they're not here. You know, they're nowhere to be seen. Or the shoes that we just sent you a promo that have just launched, we don't make them in your size. So if I've got a couple of emails coming in every day, what do I do? I could keep getting a newsletter that sends me stuff about some shoes that don't fit me and are never on sale and are never in stock. Or I could just hit that unsubscribe button. And for this company, I'm now, for all intents and purposes, dead to them. All right, maybe if they're smart, they might do some stuff that I'll talk about in a sec, but they stop emailing me, they stop calling me, they stop texting me, we just kind of broke up. So, if I think about this in terms of, I have bought a pair of shoes from this company, multiple pair of shoes. So, what do Brooks as a company know about me? So, they know my name, they know my address, or at least where they sent the shoes, so they know roughly where I live, which state I'm in. They know what gender my preference is for shoes. They know my shoe size and width. They know my foot arch type. Running shoes get really specific. They know the type of shoe I prefer. What kind of foam do I like in my shoe? Like, do I want a neutral cushioning shoe, or do I want a bounce control type shoe, or I don't know, I'm making up terms at this point. But they know roughly what I like to buy. They know when I last bought a pair of shoes. They know whether I'm already subscribed to their communications. And in the metadata about the way that I've interacted with their site, they know a lot more about me if they wanted to look. They know which products I looked at and didn't buy. They know which products I looked at and I did buy. And they know when I last checked their site for a new pair of shoes. So if they were really paying attention, they could see in my record that I'm getting all these emails from them and I'm never buying anything. And if they were paying attention, they could actually do something a bit more like this. Hey, we know your name, so we're going to personally address this and say, hey Ryan, your size is on sale. We know that you last bought shoes 3 months ago. And we know that with running shoes, depending on the kilometres you do and all those kind of things, the foam degrades over time. So we recommend that you should replace your shoes every 3 months. Because we're a shoe company, we want to sell more shoes every 3 months. They know that this is not the shoe that I usually wear, but they know I might like to try that because I like a neutral cushioning shoe. They also know that I usually buy a men's shoe, but I decided not to change that for today. Now, if you got that email and they were actually telling you that your size is on sale and in stock, you're more likely to click through and have a look at what's available. You're more likely to go to the website and actually buy something rather than going to the website and going, oh, I'm disappointed again, so this is the last time, Brooks, we're breaking up. If I unsubscribe from this communication, what can they do from there? And they don't, from what I can tell, but let's imagine for a sec. Imagination. So they could put me in a unsubscribed ad audience for the channels that they're running ads on, and they could target me on Facebook, Google Display, YouTube, LinkedIn if they were so inclined, and ask me to come back. If they use the data that they've got on me but they can't email me, they could tempt me with the products that I'm interested in. They can move me between different audiences or add me to different audiences based on when I last placed an order. If somebody last placed an order less than 3 months ago, they're not likely to buy the same shoe again unless you've got the most amazing deal of all time. But after 3 months, they're more likely to feel the need and decide that they want to buy a new pair of shoes. They can then target their ads to incentivize new orders and subscriptions. So they might even just try and tempt me with, I'm sure you've all seen a Facebook ad where they want to give you a $10 voucher to get back on their mailing list and have another go. They could even consider SMSing me. Sorry that we didn't have your shoe size, Ryan, Mr. Jones, you. But we'd like you to come back because we've actually got them now. And as long as it's got an opt-out, then at least I've got the option of saying, well, actually, I don't like you reaching out to me like this, so I'll opt out. What if I buy? So maybe if I bought a pair, I'm not likely to buy another pair for 3 months. So they can put me in an exclusion ad audience for Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn for, say, 3 months. For 3 months, you've had your time, unless we've got some amazing new product that we want to try, we are going to focus our budget on the people that we know haven't already bought shoes. Again, they can move me between audiences based on the time since my last order. They can send me a new email for new models that suit my fit and preference, and maximise the value that they're getting out of each EDM by making sure that they're addressing my need. Send me a new email to remind me to replace my daggy shoes. And you know, that would work brilliantly on me if they had a pair of like 6-year-old, muddy, crappy, foam depleted shoes, and then a picture of glorious new ones on a platter like the chef had, all over it. Let's buy a new pair of shoes. And they can send me a new email if my shoes either come back into stock or they're on sale. Everyone likes a bargain. If the bargain's good enough, we'll jump on it. So, that takes me through an example, but we're here to talk about marketing automation. And marketing automation is really driving this personalisation that I'm talking about in that hypothetical example with Brooks, but it's a very real, practical, achievable outcome in today's world. And really what marketing automation, for those of you who work in marketing, this is not about replacing your jobs. There's a great video on one of the HubSpot support guys the other day on LinkedIn, like getting to a point where you've built enough workflows and stuff to automate yourself out of a job, and then quickly like panicking and deleting all of your workflows so that your boss doesn't find out you've automated you out of a job, and then finding out support could actually restore those for you. So yeah. It's not about replacing us as marketers, it's about allowing us to get the right message to the right person at the right time. Which goes into your customer experience example. I don't want to be bombarded by emails and ads and messages and things about stuff I just bought. Unless it's your lumber. Because like if I was there on the weekend and you had a good deal this weekend, I'd be there, all right? So when we talk about marketing automation, it's all about the right message to the right person at the right time. You do not have time to do this without some form of automation backing you up. So this is based around automating campaign actions and follow-ups based on the actions that people take. So personalising and contextualising that communication at scale. I don't know about you guys, but I just don't have time to send every single person an individual email. I've got Brooks' mailing list and I've got 30,000 people on there and I'm going to personally write an email to every single one of them. It's not going to happen. So doing this at scale makes the whole thing much more achievable. It helps small marketing teams deliver big impacts. So while it doesn't replace you, it may actually allow you to do your job better. So if you're currently at a point where you need 6 more people to help your team, maybe this helps you push that back or delay it or function as a more effective team in the short term. It's also really important to note that it doesn't replace humans. It also doesn't replace the human touch and the human interaction, but it allows you to focus the personal touch on where it's going to get you the biggest impact. Okay? Ring that customer and say g'day because you don't have to spend all day emailing them. It's much more human that way, but they also feel like it's more human because everything's personalised to their needs. So why is this important? You can't do everything yourself. You can't do everything manually. It's not realistic. It's definitely not financially viable. And you can't do it in the time limits that are involved here. You know, how many of you, if somebody filled out a subscription form on your website, could ring them within 5 minutes? Cool, I was sure somebody was going to try me. And go, yeah, totally. How many of you could, send an SMS or an email? You can't. Product comes in, email goes out. So why we want to do this is because that old-fashioned bulk email isn't going to cut it anymore. And, 10 years ago, we were talking about personalisation like, hey, I put somebody's first name in a MailChimp email. Yeah! Oh, and we had so many debates about merge tags and stuff. And your boss always wanted to put the company name or the personal name or something in there, but where's the data? We only collected their email address. How are we going to do that? So this is about making sure that we can meet those needs of today's consumer, and we can significantly improve the effectiveness of all of our marketing channels. So what can we do? Now, at a base level, when I talk about automating campaign actions, I'm talking about some of the basics to get you started. We can send emails. Yeah, well, obviously we can send emails. Send SMS, add people to ad audiences, remove people from ad audiences, connect with them on LinkedIn, Don't send spam on LinkedIn. But you can connect with people on LinkedIn when it's valid and valuable, and you're not going to be one of those people that wants to offer me SEO services. You can register people for events. You can assign leads. You can send notifications when something important happens or you need to send something out. So with the basics, we can then also personalize. So yes, of course, we can do merge tags, and they're not going anywhere because they have a function. We want to be able to show people that we know who they are, maybe we know a little bit more about them, maybe we want to merge in my shoe size into the Brooks email so I know that they've definitely got my shoe size in stock. I can customize their send time. If I know that you never open an email that I send you on Monday morning, but you always open them on Wednesday afternoon, I'll send them Wednesday afternoon. If our data shows that you are a shift worker and you most frequently interact with emails at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, we can send it then. We can contextualize content to actions people have taken. We can contextualize content on the communications we send out to all of you, because now we know that you have attended Social Media Day. We know that these people here, who are the most important people in the world to me right now, actually turned up, so we can run separate targeting to people who attended versus people who didn't. We can get feedback when it's relevant. So going back to your NPS and your CSAT scores, those metrics are more relevant at different times in the customer's journey. So we send them at different times in the customer's journey. We can improve the overall customer experience. In a B2C context, customers are getting a lot more used to this. In a B2B context, people often still get a little bit creeped out, depending on what you do. Please don't be too creepy. Sometimes you sort of get to a point where it's so contextually relevant that they think that you're watching them. Don't do that. But improve the customer experience so they feel like you understand them and you're responding to their needs and you're responding to their feedback. And then finally, improving the relevancy of the communications that we send them. If it's relevant, they're more likely to click, they're more likely to convert, they're more likely to take the action that we want them to take. So when we talk about personalised content, this is about showing the right content to the right people. So you can do this on your website now, depending on the content management system that you're running and the technology running over the top. You can display different paragraphs of text, different CTAs, different videos, different products, based on actions that people have taken, products that they've bought, in a HubSpot context, and we do most of our work in HubSpot. It's ultimately based on a list membership, and we can move people in and out of that based on the actions they've taken, and we can display that wherever we need to display it. So maybe it's a landing page so that we can try and increase the conversion rate on that landing page. Maybe it's email copy. Maybe it's a web page. Maybe it's just a call to action button that we've got somewhere. We can personalise that based on what you've already done. If I know that you have already purchased a ticket to Social Media Day, I don't actually need to ask you to buy a ticket to Social Media Day again. I can suggest that you do something else. You go to Wallman's Lawyers and buy Paul. Yeah, probably don't buy Paul. So why are we doing this? We want people to engage with our marketing, and this is a way of increasing those engagement rates. We want to make sure that our content is relevant to the people that we're targeting, so they will engage, they're less likely to unsubscribe, they're more likely to have a positive customer experience, and there's my last point, so that we're providing a great customer experience. So all of that for your boss and your budget holder means improved open rates, improved click-through rates, improved conversion rates, improved ad spend efficiency, because we're targeting the right people at the right time, improved return on your ad spend, and improved visibility over your results because everything's in one place. I know who bought what and when. I know why they bought that thing. I know that that person clicked on a Facebook ad and then went to the website, purchased that. It cost me $1 to get that click, and I sold a $200 pair of shoes. So how do we actually do this? Is anyone doing any of this, by the way? You're not included. Yep, okay. Got a couple? You turkey. All right. To do this, it's really important that we get our technology stack right from the outset. You need the data that you want to use to personalise in one place. Otherwise, if it's in all these different places, you can't pull it out and personalise the way that you need to personalise it. So my suggestion is, start with an audit. Have a look at the systems that you're currently using, have a look at what they're doing for you, create a bit of a list. That's going to tell you what kind of integrations you need out of the other technology that we're going to need to do this. If you can get a solution that doesn't require custom integrations, this whole thing becomes fantastically financially viable. If you're one of those companies that needs somebody to spend 12 years coding a custom integration to connect to some, is Michael still here? Some banking system that no one's ever heard of, that only 6 people in the world can code, like it's not going to be financially viable, it's going to be terrible. It's time to upgrade your tech stack. But it is very achievable. So now we know what technology we've currently got. We know what data is in each of those buckets. We know what each of those buckets are doing for us. So next, let's map our customer journeys. Because this is not about the technology. It's about improving the customer experience and improving the relevancy and improving the results. So what are your current customer journeys? What touch points does a customer interact with to become a customer? What touch points does a customer interact with after they're a customer? You know, we'd much rather have repeat business than continue to spend money on acquisition. So what can we do to incorporate that? How can we then use automation to improve those journeys? What can we personalise? Do we need to collect a bit of additional data to be able to personalise those different steps? How can we use that automation to personalise them? So, okay, well, we know that we can improve this process by, hey, there's a person who half their job is to do this thing, which we can do in 5 minutes in a marketing automation journey. That's not going to mean that that person's redundant. It's going to mean that person doing that job that they hate has now got all of this extra time to do these things. You know, if you're in a small non-profit in particular, you've got those front of desk people that Jacqueline talked about before, where they hate their job, and it's because of this half that you can now take off and automate. So now all of a sudden they're happier. And then channeling my inner Jennifer Everson, what surprise and delight elements can we add into that process? You know, is it just a note that we send out? We've seen some B2b customers where they actually have an automated journey set up so that when somebody gets to a certain point, it fires an integration to go and order them a handwritten postcard, or it sends them a gift basket. Something like, so in a B2B context, that kind of thing is very viable. So we would start here with the CRM. And the reason for that is get a good CRM, get the right data in the system, make sure that you can then pull that data out. And the big ones for marketing automation, the big ones for CRMs and integrations in general, HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp. MailChimp have done a lot of work in this area. Keep, and if you haven't got anything better, Shopify, BigCommerce, those kind of things. Because for some of you, your Shopify site, if you're doing e-com, might actually contain all of the customer data that you've got on your customers. So you need a marketing automation tool that will connect in and pull that data out of Shopify. What you want to look for when you're evaluating these is integrations with the other tools that you use. Again, you want to avoid those custom integrations. They're big, expensive, long-term projects that everybody hates doing. So if you can avoid that and use tools that have off-the-shelf integrations for other tools that you use, you have a much better experience. You can get a tool to fulfill some additional need, get it connected in 5 minutes, get it configured in another 10, and away you go. You want to look for value for money, obviously. And I also think you really want to look for as few moving parts as possible. Because the less moving parts you've got, the less likely something is to break. Because you know what? All of these companies have to update their APIs, and generally somebody hasn't updated some API connector at some point, and all of a sudden you've got a break in your connection and you're in big trouble. So less moving parts, the better. Now, when you're looking at your marketing automation tool, again, I've basically got the same list of what to look for here. Integrations with the other tools that you use, off-the-shelf integrations, value for money, but it's really important when you're looking at marketing automation tools to look at ease of use and training materials. You don't want a tool that you can't use. You need to hire an expert in. There's a system that is not on this thing called Marketo. Anyone use Marketo? Yep. Most organisations using Marketo that we've worked with have the Marketo person, and the Marketo person's entire job is to do the Marketo thing, and then they have to bring in the Marketo consultant to do the other things that they can't do in the Marketo thing. So getting somebody, getting a system that has training materials, has a customer base that you can learn from. Those training materials may not even be from that provider. They may be from a third-party consultant. And I know that Keep do a lot of third-party consultant work. So there's YouTube videos to solve it. So the systems that I'm talking about for marketing automation here, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Keep, and Klaviyo. So Klaviyo is a bit more, or traditionally has been a bit more e-commerce focused. Connects in with Shopify to pull your data out, and then automate actions based on your Shopify data. So, what does that look like for us? We're a marketing agency, we use all of these things. Anyone who's ever worked in a marketing agency probably knows that your marketing is the worst marketing out of any of your customers. But here's a simplified version of what we use on a daily basis. We're a HubSpot partner, so that means we use HubSpot at the center of what we do. It stores all of our stakeholder information. It's our CRM, but it also directs all of our marketing automation. Our sales information, our marketing information, and our soon-to-be service information is all in that one place. That also allows us to track our return on investment from all of the activities that we do. So HubSpot have a brilliant campaigns tool. So when you're talking about tracking the return on investment for B2b products where you're sending out quotes and things like that, you can do that in a system like HubSpot because the sales data is in the same place as the campaign data. It's amazing. We then use a tool called Sakari to do SMS, so we can reach our customers via SMS if we need to. We use a great system called Cradle for our phones. So we can fire an SMS through Sakari based on a workflow in HubSpot. Cradle logs all of our phone calls against the customer record in HubSpot, so I know who was called and when. I can create lists of customers who haven't been called in 3 months. We can track who has had their calls missed. We can even record those calls against their contact record if we need to go back and check something. We can use Stripe for our credit card payments and then log that against the contact record. I haven't mentioned it here, but even we use Xero for invoicing. That's logged against the contact record as well. So those couple of objects there are really based around knowing what kind of interactions we have with the customer, what kind of experience they have, how often we're talking to them, how often we're engaging with them, and then knowing what we need to do off the back of that. Then we use some really cool stuff like 7th Sense, which uses artificial intelligence to go through all of the lovely email data that we have and goes, when should I send this email? So the social media day emails until the last couple of weeks have been sent out through that. So you've all been receiving those emails at a different time every time. We set a 7-day window typically, and then the AI goes through. And if it knows what time to send that to you, it will send it to you at your personalised time of day. If it doesn't know, it will go through a testing routine and try different times based on the other people in the database until it gets a time that it thinks is relevant to you. All of our ad data from all of the different ad bodies comes in so that we can track audiences and conversion events. So again, we can automate off the back of this. That also allows us to track that return on investment I was talking about. Video is really important to us, so we use 23, which was the platform we used for last year's live event, the webinar platform. We also use Wistia, so we know if you've watched our videos. We know how much of our videos you watched. We know which videos you watched. So maybe if you watched a super special video on our website, we might send you a super special promo code. Some kind of surprise and delight. Hey, you finally got to the end of that video. It was a long one. Here's a prize. Zoom. So you can use a booking link that's integrated with your calendar to do your video calling. It'll automatically create that link and automatically be available in your calendar, and then the Zoom call is logged against your contact record. But you can equally use that as a way of registering people for Zoom webinars. So you have a nicer landing page than those really ugly Zoom webinar landing pages. Google Workspace for email and documents and calendars, Typeform for forms and surveys, and Slack for our chat and notifications. So with the exception of Slack, all of this is putting data into that CRM. So all of this is feeding the actions that we can then take off the back of the actions that you have taken. The last one, Slack, that's for notifications. We've got a new live chat on the website. You can respond to that in Slack. You've got something happening that somebody needs to be alerted to. It surfaces a lot faster in Slack than it does in an inbox. Unless you've got inbox 0, in which case speak to me afterwards about how you do that, because that would be great. So, I don't want to harp on about HubSpot, but the interesting thing about HubSpot is we were HubSpot customers before we were HubSpot partners. So I think it's useful to understand why we think HubSpot's the right fit. We really feel like HubSpot is the platform that makes it possible for everyone to afford a decent CRM. And the main reason for that is HubSpot CRM is free, and then all the other stuff around it starts off at free, and the pricing scales up from there. That also means the integrations are incredible, so there aren't very many custom integrations required to suit HubSpot. Because of the sheer number of users, there's off-the-shelf integrations for just about anything you can pull out of the box. There's lots of training. It's very easy to use to start with, but there's lots of training. HubSpot do a great academy where they'll teach you basically anything to do with HubSpot. They'll even assess you, make sure that you've actually done that email, make sure you've got that click-through rate. And there's a ton of other online tutorials. There's a range of uses, and it's all in one. So less moving parts, less subscription fees, and less logins. If you're on a paid plan, people go, oh, well, paid plan, yeah, that costs money. But yeah, but it replaces 10 things that you're paying more for. Oh, yeah. So that's why we use HubSpot. That's why we recommend HubSpot. When you talk to somebody and they're looking at, say, Salesforce, and it's 40 grand to do an implementation the first year for 5 users, and then you go, well, HubSpot's free for that, and we can do you still got to buy the marketing automation for Salesforce. It's a pretty easy conversation. So, let's look at how we bring this together. How many nonprofits have I got in the room? Cool, all right. So here's an example based on a campaign that we're working with some fundraising peeps. Very simple example. So, in this case, we are going to, the user's going to make a donation. Once they've made the donation, we're going to send them the obligatory thank you email. If we've got their mobile number, we're going to send them a thank you SMS as well. We actually found that the response rates were better from the SMS than the email, so we send the SMS now as well. So again, always testing these things to try and improve the rates. Then we wait a week. We don't want to overwhelm them. And then we send them an email that talks about the impact of their donation. Then we wait a week again. And then we ask the question, did they make a one-off donation or did they make a regular donation? And if they made a regular donation, then we're going to take them out of this rotation because we're going to put them into a separate one where we want more money out of their regular donation. If they made a once-off donation, we're going to send them an email to become a regular donor. In the case of this organisation, they have 2 fundraising people whose job is to call people. So they'll call that donor in 3 days. So a reminder is round robin to 2 different people to make that call. Once that reminder's been created, we wait 3 days, and then we actually check, were they called? We know if they were called or not, because if they were called, there'll be a call logged on their contact record. If they weren't called, then we send a quick SMS to the team member to call them. In this case of this organisation, they don't have a phone system. They use good old-fashioned mobile phones, and that SMS reminds them, surfaces it out of their data inbox. Then we check whether they became regular donors. If they don't become regular donors, then the very simplistic version of what we do then is repeat this loop. Obviously, we don't want to repeat that loop forever, but the simplistic view is we repeat the loop, and if they did become regular donors, then we end the rotation there. So very, very simple journey in that case of where we can take them through from start to finish. A couple of different touch points. All of those touch points are personalised based on how much they donated and who they are, and it also personalised to the campaign that they donated to. And so they get those warms and fuzzies throughout the process so they know what their money actually went to. So let's talk about a B2b example. So this is a SaaS-based client of ours called Flat Rate Now. I gotta shut up. Yeah. Can I do this quickly? Yes. Sweet. So Flat Rate Now makes software for tradies. Plumbers, electrician, HVAC, tradies. So first mission here, bring all of the data into one place and then let the data be pulled out into the different systems. So getting all of that data allows us to do a lot of things with it. So first of all, very simple, personalising the content for different trades. If we know you're a plumber, we want to show you ads that are for plumbers. We want to show you emails that are for plumbers. We want to show you content on the website that is for plumbers. We want to tailor our ad messaging to the different stages of the buying process. If they've signed up for a trial, we want to show them a different ad because they have 14 days to try it, put their credit card in and become customers. So we want to use all of the different touch points that we have to nurture them through the process. We use the email send time optimization to personalise those email send times. And especially for tradies, they're all over the place, so that's brilliant. It gives us a complete picture of their ROI in one place, and it links their meetings, their sales approach, and their touch points back to their conversions. So we know that if a salesperson rings somebody off the back of their trial subscription, they are much more likely to convert. So as an example here, we have a reinvigoration workflow, and we can do things like, have they signed up? Yes or no? No, they didn't. They're not in a trial and they're not active. So we're going to check when the best time to send them a follow-up is, and then we're going to follow them up. And we have separate ones of these for other touch points and SMS and audiences. So I think the most important part here, other than the fact that you can do it and the stuff you need, the results. So in the case of the approach for this client, bringing all that data into one place allows us to see 633% increase in the deals that were created, 256% increase in the deals that were closed, we re-engage with dormant subscribers using that email send time optimization. So about 20% of our subscribers that were essentially dead to us, they never opened an email, never engaged. Once you start sending those emails at the right time of day to suit them, they come back, they start opening emails, they start engaging with you, they start starting trials again. And then finally, that visibility over the ROI of each channel. So we can push budget around to where it's most efficient and effective, so we can get most bang for buck. So the key takeaways I want to leave you with before Robina murders me is technology is easy now. I know I've been kind of a bit blasé about how easy it is, but the technology is the easy part in general. You need to focus on the journeys and the customer experience and what you can do to genuinely help and improve that process. You want to get your tech stack right from the outset, and with some of the tools that are available these days at a range of different budget levels, there's actually no reason why you can't. You have no excuse. It doesn't have to be expensive, but the ROI can be massive. 265% increase in deals, huge impact on the bottom line. And if you're in B2B, we had a B2B client a couple of years ago, closed a $150,000 traffic project on live chat through automated marketing automation. So it's pretty easy to get ROI when you deal with that kind of size in a B2B environment, Meredith. But it doesn't do everything for you, so you're still going to have to do some things. You still have a job. How good's that? All right, if you've got any questions, get in touch, but I'm going to go.
Well, no, you can stay for a minute.
I can stay for a minute. Thanks.
Please thank Ryan Jones. Now I reckon there are going to be some questions, and I know we're going to be going into morning tea a bit, but yes, let's take a couple. Anyone else got questions? Can we just see how many questions there are? Is it just one today? Looks like just one. All right, let's grab this one and then we'll...
Be around in the breaks if people have got
so Will,
questions.
you're at the back. You came today. Awesome. So we've got one up the back, Linda, there as well.
Hello, me again. So we are a government service, SA Dental, so I'm not really sure how it works in terms of our tech stuff and getting the data from our clients, patients.
It's going to be very painful.
Yeah, sounds like it when I was looking at your presentation. So we thought a good tactic would be like the listening. I don't know if this is really a thing, but when you say I'm looking at Cotton On online, and then all of a sudden all the brands that are sort of on the same playing field as Cotton On start appearing in my feed on my Instagram, and we thought that was something we could maybe get onto. Like if people, I don't know if it's a real thing. If it's like listening, is this a thing? Am I asking a dumb question?
Everybody will tell you something different. Every time so somebody will say to me, and I don't want to cast aspersions, but my parents, I was talking about this with your dad the other day, and then I started seeing ads for this thing. Did you look it up? Yeah. Now we have some data on you. There's a Facebook pixel, there's a Google retargeting pixel, and now we know that you are interested in Cotton On products. So Google and Facebook are all putting you in these different affinity audiences that go, we know that you want a t-shirt. And we can make some certain assumptions about what the next action you're going to take based on that. So when somebody like us goes to build an ad campaign for a company that sells t-shirts, we choose the t-shirt affinity audience, and we can go after people that are looking for t-shirts.
How do you choose that affinity audience?
So that's more of a Facebook ad question. So you could do that without a marketing automation platform. And maybe we'll take that offline because that's, not too bad.
Okay.
There's somebody in this room who will remain nameless, but we run their display and YouTube ads targeting people that are interested in trips to certain areas, travel to certain areas. Yes, they will remain nameless, okay? But equally, we use that data to go, hey, if you're interested in a trip to Perth, you're less likely to convert, so I don't want you. Or you're worth less money to me, so I'll pay less for that click. See, there's a lot of targeting that you can do in that, which actually doesn't start to get into this kind of realm.
And in terms of a government service like us, is that something that you would recommend us to do? It might be a long answer, and probably an offline one, but...
In your case, it probably depends on what you're allowed to do. But that would be something that we could have a chat about your goals and and have a look at whether that's a good fit for you.
Okay.
Could be.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. You can always follow up in the break. Will, up the back, nice to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. That was super insightful. Just a quick question in regards to the relationship between like automation and personalisation, because I think that's a really good point that you made about it doesn't automate everything, unfortunately. Just learned how to use a microphone.
We can't automate that.
Yeah. At what point do you decide that it's time to step in with a personalised message? And do you have conditions, like non-response conditions that then trigger a certain, like another flow where you decide it's time to step in with a personalised text message, phone call, whatever it might be?
So the first question there, every day we find that the line on what you can personalise shifts. And there are systems now where I can actually get to a point where I show you a customised video with your information on it or a screenshot of your website or whatever it is on our website when you go there. Because I know if I know what your website is, I can get really detailed and show you something that we made for you. We can do that with images in email. We can do all kinds of crazy things now if you've got the right tech stack to support it. So that's going to continue to evolve. Who knows where we might go. Somebody is absolutely going to get so creepy that they're going to create a deep fake of you telling yourself on a website that you should buy those shoes. So it's going to happen, and then hopefully everyone says, that's a bit across the line, and we wind it back, but somebody's going to do it because they can. The second part of your question is absolutely. Like, if you continue to not get a response, then we would move those people into inactive lists. In some cases, what we might do is try and re-engage with those inactive lists on a annual basis, semi-regular type basis, but we know that for whatever reason, those people aren't reacting to what we're sending out, so let's back off a bit because we're just flogging a dead horse.
Cool. And then the final question, would you mind showing us your tech stack for the tradie client that you had again? I didn't have time to whip out the phone.
You can read about it on our website. It's a bit more detailed on the website about what each moving part is doing.
Would you be able to post a link to that in the Slack as
sure.
well? Awesome.
No problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we break for morning tea? Look, we've got one from Rob over here in the corner. I think Ollie's going to race Yelena to it. Did I see a hand in the middle of the room? All good? Oh, it's just stretching. All good. False alarm.
I just wondered if you're doing anything now to prepare for the cookieless world and the way that that's all heading. Are you making any... We've got some more time now, so personally I'm just letting the experts figure it out, and I figure the tech will come out to take care of it. Is there anything that you're doing differently in your tech stack or that you'd recommend we do now to prepare for that?
So this kind of tech stack kind of starts to ensure against that, because we're running mostly first-party cookies, and because we're actually storing that data in our own system, most of this stuff won't be terribly affected. In terms of this stuff, what I'm more concerned about at the moment is Apple looking at taking away your ability to know when someone's opened and clicked on emails in their new privacy settings in the new iOS and macOS. Depending on what the user uptake of that is, that could be a very interesting time for a lot of us. But we're talking about the death of the third-party cookie without actually context around the third-party cookies. Most people are actually using first-party cookies if they're doing the right thing, so it won't affect them terribly much. If the people that are doing the wrong thing, it's going to affect them a lot and they'll be in big trouble. But, I mean, I don't really care about those people. Some of the data that we're going to lose, Google are basically just changing the name of some stuff. Like if you look at their federated, what is it, flock? Federated cohorts of, Mal, what is it? Federated learning cohorts? Is that the new thing? Anyway, they've basically changed the name of lookalikes and they've changed the way that they're calculated, but it quacks like a duck, so it's a duck. So, you know, the whole world will move to first-party cookies and things will keep turning and it'll be fine.
All right, on that note, we might wrap up for morning tea. Sorry for running a bit over into morning tea.